Today we'll be taking a look at Watch Dogs 2 on the PS4 and the Potato Masher. If you don't know, the Potato Masher is a $375 PC custom built in 2014 and designed to compete with the PS4 for the rest of its life cycle. The goal is not to pick on consoles, but to show that PC gaming can be just as good or better for the same money. This may also be useful information for anyone gaming on a budget PC who is considering buying this game. You can also check out my test of the game on the Potato Masher Pro, my side project that competes against the PS4 Pro. Also, I know it's been a couple weeks since my last video, so sorry about that, but I recently bought an HTC Vive and a bunch of games, so you should look out for some Potato Masher VR content coming very, very soon. But for now, let's get to the review. Watch Dogs 2 didn't have the smoothest launch. While it has a bevy of graphics options and halfway decent optimizing and lots of other things that PC gamers like, plenty of PC users reported inconsistent or very demanding performance, and PS4 users reported frequent frame pacing or frame rate issues. Both platforms have received several patches since launch, and the overall experience on each platform is quite improved. The Potato Masher runs Watch Dogs 2 at 1080p, 30 FPS, and a custom blend of settings that corresponds to high on my review scale of very low, low, medium, high, and very high. I did turn on temporal filtering, so if you're not familiar with it, temporal filtering is a frame reconstruction method that creates high-resolution frames from several lower-resolution frames. It can free up a decent amount of performance without a significant visual compromise. Ubisoft is normally pretty skilled at implementing this method in their games, and I normally take advantage of it. I tried to make a comparison showing the visual difference between temporal filtering being on or off, but after some quick tests of YouTube's compression, I wasn't able to make anything that would reliably come through after being compressed. Suffice it to say, temporal filtering in this case looks very, very similar to native resolution. In screenshots you can usually spot a small difference, but it's very hard to do that during gameplay with a few small exceptions we'll talk about soon. So 1080p, 30 FPS, and high settings. Not bad, right? Well, the Masher seems to run the game well enough, but it still doesn't look very good. Certainly not as good as I'd expect given this level of demanding performance. That goes for the PS4 too. Both versions have very noticeable aliasing shimmer and flickering, which is made a little worse by temporal filtering. Both platforms look somewhat unrefined, almost as if they're the last generation versions of a game that was made for higher end hardware. Huh, guess you should watch the Masher Pro video. Anyway, compared to the PS4, the Masher has better shadows, actual ambient occlusion, less aliasing shimmer, not to mention reflections on cars and in puddles that the PS4 appears to just be missing. None of these things are massive on their own, but the Masher does end up looking noticeably better. The PS4 does have slightly higher res textures, and you might notice that it looks sharper. The PC version has a sharpening filter, and I'm usually a fan of some light post-processing sharpening when a game is using resolution scaling. However, the PS4 has more aggressive sharpening than I would pick on the PC. It does make the game look nice and crisp when you're standing still, but everything has a slightly over-processed look. When you're running around or driving, the sharpening makes the aliasing shimmer even worse. Grass, trees, water, etc. all looks worse because of this sharpening filter, in my opinion. I think if the filter was maybe half as strong, it would be a lot better. I'm not actually using any sharpening on the Masher because I think it looks fine as is, but of course, that is pretty subjective. Neither version is incredibly good looking, but the Masher does have an edge. You can tell Watch Dogs 2 was built and optimized for consoles first. It's sadly common, but while the Masher has no trouble running the game at high settings at 30 FPS, 60 is impossible on any acceptable settings. At 1080p, medium settings, and 75% resolution scaling with temporal filtering, that's a mouthful, the frame rate spikes are all over the place. CPU usage varies wildly in the busiest parts of San Francisco, and it drops when you leave town. While I could hit a stable 60 FPS in open areas, that's only a good thing if the Masher could also keep close to 60 across the map, and it can't. Not to mention, at 75% resolution scaling, the game starts to look very soft. 30 FPS is as high as we can go. At 1440p, medium settings and locked at 30 FPS, the visuals do sharpen up quite a bit. The presentation isn't as aliasing free and clean as quite a few other games would be at 1440p, but it's noticeably improved over 1080p, and the reduction in graphics settings isn't that bad. You lose screen space reflections, bloom lighting, and a few other nice features, but the overall quality is improved. GPU and CPU usage is higher as you'd expect, but well within acceptable limits. The Masher doesn't match the PS4 Pro or Masher Pro, but Watch Dogs 2 is absolutely playable at 1440p. Quite a few of you asked me to test Watch Dogs 2. I'll be honest, I didn't think the Masher would do as well as it did. While the visuals aren't much better than fine, and the PC can't play the game at 4K or even 1080p and 60 FPS without issues, it more than matches the PS4 version. Once again, the Potato Masher shows that you can use a budget PC and get just as good or a better gaming experience compared to a console, although in this case, the takeaway should be that the experience isn't that incredible on the console either. Go watch the Potato Masher Pro take on Watch Dogs 2 if you want to see how much better the game can look. If you enjoyed this video, consider supporting this channel and the Potato Masher project by tossing me a few bucks on Patreon, or hit the like button. Thank you for your support, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.